Hello everyone, welcome back, and in this video lecture we are going to deal with the physiological anatomy of hypothalamus. So when we consider the physiological anatomy of hypothalamus, we will divide this anatomy in two subheadings, that is the classification of various nuclei of hypothalamus, and then second we will look at the connections of the hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is a part of diencephalon of the brain. When you see here, we have covered this in the previous lecture, that is the lecture of thalamus, that this ovoid structure here is a thalamus which is present bilaterally. The both oval structures what you can see here is thalamus, and just beneath that this area is hypothalamus, and here you can see the pituitary gland, it's hanging with the help of a stalk. So this area under the thalamus is called as the hypothalamus, which is a part of diencephalon. So getting started with the anatomy of hypothalamus, the hypothalamus can be divided into certain regions. As you can see here, hypothalamus anteriorly to posteriorly, it can be divided into preoptic region, supraoptic region, tuberal region, and the mammillary region. So this division here is the division of hypothalamus anteriorly to posteriorly. I will show you in the diagram. This is the regions when we are going from anterior to the posterior of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus can also be divided into medial region and the lateral region. So the medial region contains well-defined nuclei, but the lateral region, the nuclear organization is more diffuse. It's not well-defined, it is diffuse. So hypothalamus can be divided into various regions, medial and lateral. When we divide hypothalamus in medial and lateral region, medial is the one which contains well-defined nuclei, lateral has a diffuse nuclear organization. Whereas when we look at the hypothalamus anterior posteriorly, what is the division? They can be divided from anterior to posterior. Anteriorly preoptic region, behind that is supraoptic region, behind that is tuberal region, and at the last there is mammillary region. So according to the classification in anterior posterior regions, let us have a look at various nuclei in those regions. So what was the first region? This is the anterior part of the brain and the posterior part of the brain. So anterior part of hypothalamus, above here is your thalamus. So anterior part of hypothalamus and the posterior part of hypothalamus. Anteriorly there is the preoptic region, and there are two nucleus in the preoptic region, that is the lateral preoptic nucleus here and the medial preoptic nucleus beside it. Then comes the second region, that is the supraoptic region. Why it is called supraoptic? As you can see, the optic nerve and optic chiasma here, above it is the supraoptic region. So this supraoptic region contains suprachiasmatic nucleus. As you can see, the various regions, the nucleus of various regions are depicted in different colors here. So the green color is the supraoptic region, and these are the various nuclei of the supraoptic region. First is the suprachiasmatic. Above the chiasma there is suprachiasmatic nucleus. Then there is supraoptic nucleus. Then comes anterior hypothalamic nucleus. This is the anterior hypothalamic nucleus, and this is paraventricular nucleus. So this is the supraoptic region. Beside that, posterior to that is tuberal region. So there is arcuate nucleus in the tuberal region, there is ventromedial nucleus, and there is dorsomedial nucleus. So this is a tuberal region where there is arcuate nucleus, ventromedial nucleus and dorsomedial nucleus. Then coming to the last and the posterior aspect of the hypothalamus, that is the mammillary region. There are two nucleus. One is the mammillary body, and second is the posterior hypothalamic nucleus. So this consists the posterior. So it is very nicely depicted in this diagram with help of different colors. What are the different nucleus of different regions of the hypothalamus. Now coming to the second part of this lecture, that is the connections of hypothalamus. Hypothalamus performs the integratory function in our body. It is the head ganglion of autonomic nervous system. It is involved in emotional responses and it has various other integratory functions in our body. Hypothalamus performs these functions because of its vast connections with various effector outputs from the brain. Once again, hypothalamus performs this various vast influence or various function on the body because of its connection with various output nucleuses in the central nervous system. So it is connected with various outflow, and thus it regulates or integrates the function of various outputs like autonomic output, the other endocrine output, the attention, the emotion, everything is integrated by hypothalamus. So that is performed by the help of its connection. So when we look at the connection of hypothalamus, it can be divided into afferent connections and efferent connections. Afferent means what are the inputs coming to the hypothalamus is coming through those afferents, and what are the output goings from the hypothalamus will be the efferent connection. So the afferent connections will be divided into from other parts of limbic system. So we will deal with the limbic system in a later lectures, but hypothalamus is an integral part of limbic system. So it gets input from other parts of the limbic system also. Then input comes from the brain stem. Input comes from the neocortex. Input comes from the globus pallidus, which is a part of basal ganglia. Input comes from the thalamus and input comes from the retina. So these all inputs, how it is coming, to which nucleus it is coming, we will study in detail. And then afferent connections. Then it sends out its afferent to various centers so to perform the integratory function or to streamline the function of different aspect of our body. So the afferent connection goes to the autonomic centers in the brain stem, in the spinal cord itself, and to the other parts of the limbic system. Output goes to the other part of limbic system. Output goes to the thalamus, the tegmentum of the midbrain, the neocortex and the pituitary gland. So let us have a look in details what are these connections. Now coming to the first afferent connection, which is the afferent from the other part of limbic system. So hypothalamus here is a part of a system or a group of collections of the cell bodies or group of nucleus in the brain, and that collection is called as limbic system. This limbic system is responsible for the emotional aspect of our behavior. So as you can see here, hypothalamus along with amygdala, mammillary body, hippocampus, cingulate gyrus, septum and olfactory bulb, this forms the limbic system of our brain. And from the other region or from the other areas of the limbic system, hypothalamus receives the afferent impulses or inputs from the other areas of limbic system so that it can perform its integratory and then send its output for an appropriate response. So let us have a look what all bundles or what all connections gets the input from the different areas of limbic system. So first of it is medial forebrain bundle, which gets the input from anterior olfactory areas to the hypothalamus. So as we can see in this diagram, this blue colored bundle is the medial forebrain bundle. It is coming from the olfactory bulb and it is then going to the midbrain tegmentum, as well as it is supplying to the hypothalamus. So this medial forebrain bundle is the one which connects the anterior olfactory areas to the hypothalamus, which is the branch or which is the part of the limbic system. Now another supply is coming in the form of fornix. Fornix connects the hippocampus to the mammillary body. Let us have a look at this diagram. This hippocampus, which is a part of limbic system, is connected to the hypothalamus with the help of fornix. And you can see here it's a kind of circuit which is called as circuit of Pepys, or Pepys circuit is one of the important connections of the limbic system, which we will deal when we study about the limbic system. We will study in more details about the Pepys circuit, but as we have to look at the afferent for now, for hypothalamus, fornix is the one which forms the afferent from which is getting the input from hippocampus to the hypothalamus, to the mammillary body of the hypothalamus. Fornix connects the hippocampus, or fornix get the input from the hippocampus to the mammillary body of the hypothalamus. Then comes the third one is stria terminalis. This connects the amygdala to the preoptic and anterior nucleus of the hypothalamus. So as we can see in this diagram, amygdala, this is a simple depiction of the connection of hypothalamus. In this diagram you can see the first one what we studied, medial forebrain bundle, the second one fornix, the third one stria terminalis. So what is stria terminalis doing? It is connecting, or it is getting the input from amygdala to the hippocampus. As you can see, there are two-sided arrows. That means this stria terminalis and fornix, they both, and the medial forebrain bundle, they four acts as input as well as output. That means they have the neurons in this bundle are the neurons which carries both signal to and from the thalamus. That is both afferent and efferent neurons are present in those bundles. Now coming to the last one is medial hypothalamic tract. So medial hypothalamic tract is also the one which connects hippocampus, few parts of the hippocampus, to the hypothalamus, mainly to the arcuate nucleus. So these are the connections, these are the afferents which are coming from the limbic system. Now there are afferents from the brainstem also. Usually in the brainstem occurs the region for the control of autonomic output or the control of cardiovascular regulation, respiratory regulation. Various regulatory centers are present, as well as the nucleus where the sensory inputs are synapsing they are present in the brainstem. So it is important for the hypothalamus to have the information from the brainstem also. So let us see what all tracts or what all bundles are the afferent impulses for the hypothalamus. So first is the mammillary peduncle, which gets the input from the tegmentum of the midbrain to the mammillary body of the hypothalamus. So as we can see here, the mammillary peduncle, this yellow colored structure is the ascending fiber or the afferent fibers of the mammillary peduncle to the hypothalamus. It is getting information from the brainstem as well as from the midbrain tegmentum of the midbrain to the hypothalamus. As you can see here, it is sending the signal to the mammillary body of the hypothalamus. And this midbrain, the mammillary peduncle, carries the signal of various sensations, of various visceral sensations also, and gustatory sensation, that is from the nucleus tractus solitarius and dorsal nucleus of vagus. From those also it is carrying the sensation, the visceral sensation, the gustatory sensation to the hypothalamus. Now coming to the dorsal longitudinal fasciculus of Schutz. So this fasciculus carries information from periaqueductal gray to the hypothalamus, periaqueductal area to the hypothalamus. The third structure here is medial forebrain bundle, which we already have seen. The afferent fibers of this medial forebrain bundle, as you can see here, the afferent fibers of this medial forebrain bundle projects to the lateral hypothalamic and preoptic nuclei. These are the one which carries the visceral sensation also. So mammillary peduncle, dorsal longitudinal fasciculus of Schutz and medial forebrain bundle, all of them carry the visceral sensation of the body. This carry the gustatory sensation and various other superficial or the sensation from the brainstem also. Now coming to the other afferent tracts is the catecholaminergic pathway. As you know that locus coeruleus is a center of catecholamine secreting, or the cell body of catecholamine secreting neurons, norepinephrine especially. So locus coeruleus is the one center. From there, those neurons which are arising from locus coeruleus goes to various parts of the brain and supply the norepinephrine to various parts of the brain to perform various function. Out of that, one supply is to hypothalamus, that is to the supraoptic and paraventricle nuclei of the hypothalamus. In general, the catecholaminergic pathways maintains the alertness in the brain, and here its supply to the supraoptic and paraventricle nuclei may be responsible for the secretion of hormones, posterior pituitary hormones, because the supraoptic and paraventricle nuclei are responsible for the secretion of vasopressin and oxytocin from the posterior pituitary gland. Now coming to the last afferent from the brainstem is serotonergic pathway. It is coming from the raphe nucleus to the hypothalamus, and serotonergic pathway is also involved in the brain suppression pathway, but here its supply to the hypothalamus and to the other areas of the brain is responsible for maintenance of sleep wake cycle. So the serotonin which is being secreted by the neurons arising from raphe nucleus maintains the sleep wake cycle in the body. Now coming to the afferent connection from the neocortex. So there is a wide afferent connections from neocortex in human beings. There are various connections from globus pallidus, that is globus pallidus is the part of basal ganglia, and the pallido-hypothalamic pathway coming from the basal ganglia is one afferent connection from the basal ganglia. Then from the thalamus there is thalamo-hypothalamic pathway. Thalamo-hypothalamic pathway, the dorsal and the midline nucleus of the thalamus are the main which give rise to thalamo-hypothalamic pathway. If you remember, the dorsal nucleus was responsible for maintenance of visceral function in the thalamus, and hypothalamus is the one which integrates and maintains the visceral function. That is why the nucleus, dorsomedial nucleus, is connected with the help of thalamo-hypothalamic pathway with the hypothalamus. At last, the afferents from the retina comes to the suprachiasmatic nucleus with the help of retino-hypothalamic pathway. So the light sensation is coming to the hypothalamus with the help of retino-hypothalamic pathway to the suprachiasmatic nucleus of the hypothalamus. Now let us have a look at the efferent connections which are coming out from the hypothalamus to various areas of the brain for stimulating or giving the signal to them so that hypothalamus can integrate and perform the various output functions. So the first output coming from hypothalamus is to the autonomic centers. This is coming with the help of posterior longitudinal fasciculus. As you can see here in this diagram, the dorsal or the posterior longitudinal fasciculus is coming from the hypothalamus to the midbrain and also to the spinal cord. So what is the function of this posterior or dorsal longitudinal fasciculus? This gives out the output to the autonomic centers which are located especially in the brainstem. From this autonomic centers which are present in the brainstem and the spinal cord arises the sympathetic and parasympathetic outflow. Now coming to the second aspect is the other part of limbic system. So as we have earlier seen, the stria terminalis, the medial forebrain bundle are two-ways pathway. As you can see here, stria terminalis, the medial forebrain bundle, fornix and the ventral amygdalofugal pathway are the two-ways pathway for the hypothalamus to contact with limbic system. Then the efferent goes to thalamus with the help of mammillothalamic tract. As we can see here, from the mammillary body, there is the mammillothalamic tract. This red color tract here is the mammillothalamic tract, and this makes the efferent from the mammillary body of the hypothalamus to the thalamus. Then the mammillotegmental tract, which can also be seen in the same diagram. Tegmentum of the midbrain, here it is also supplied by the hypothalamus to perform its various function with the help of mammillotegmental tract. As you can see here, mammillotegmental tract. Then comes to the neocortex. Various afferent are coming from the neocortex and various efferent are also going to the neocortex from the hypothalamus to maintain the alertness and orientation in the person. Then coming to the pituitary gland, the last efferent which we are going to discuss is the efferent to the pituitary gland, which is of two types, that is the hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract and the tubero-infundibular tract. What is hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract? As you can see in this diagram, the one which is coming from the supraoptic and paraventricular nucleus and going to the posterior pituitary, where it secretes its neurotransmitter, as to say neurohormones, in the capillary bed of posterior pituitary. It secretes these neurons. These are the cell body of the neurons which are arising from the supraoptic and paraventricular nucleus, and then these goes to the hypophysis and secretes their neurohormones in the capillary bed of the posterior pituitary gland, and these hormones are oxytocin and vasopressin. The other pathway, the other efferent pathway to the pituitary gland is tuberoinfundibular pathway. That is from the tuberal nuclei. It is going to the medial eminence, the hypophyseal pituitary, the hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system. It is secreting its secretion in the portal hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal system, and thus secreting their various stimulating and inhibiting hormones, so to control the secretion of anterior pituitary gland. So these comprises the efferent pathway, the afferent pathway, and we have also covered the various nuclei in the hypothalamus. And in the next lecture we will discuss the function of hypothalamus on the basis of its connections, by the virtue of its connections to various regions of the body, how hypothalamus performs its peculiar function of integration of the body functions. Thank you so much.